Namaskaram everyone. This is actually the fourth part of the video which I took with Samyama and Tulsi akka. So if you haven't seen the rest of the videos, please go see it. It will be coming right now on top if you're watching this on YouTube. Else, if you're watching this on Instagram or any other platform, please go to my YouTube playlist Soma.yoga.life. You will find it over there. So before you go into this video, please make sure you watch that. So let's go directly into this podcast. I did not know this was a podcast I was choosing. That's why I made it into 10 minute part. If it was today, I would have put it as one full video.
Okay, so what was I saying?
So you were talking about you were sitting in a job and having a typical conversation that one has in the corporate world.
Having a tech job. I was having this very typical conversation where whoever is your manager or director will, just try to understand, okay, what is your goal? Where do you want to go in your tech career and things like that. So where do you want to go in the next 5 to 10 years? That type of thing. So then I was giving, I want to be a CTO of a company or something like that, which is fine. Somewhere inside of me, is that what you want out of your life? Is this what you desire? Is this what Sam has always desired? Is this what little kid Sam was thinking, that I want to be this? And somehow it just was not sitting with me properly. After that, I really started thinking, what am I doing? What is the point of my life? All of these existential anxieties started coming.
Can you start like the again part the seat you asked?
Yeah, because I didn't think you got that.
Yeah.
So
Are you in it?
Yes, I'm
properly?
in it.
Yeah.
So I was working in technology in New York City, and I was having a very typical tech conversation which you have with your manager or director, where they sort of ask you, what are your goals for the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you want to go in your career? And I started seeing that life was becoming very predictable. Okay, from data engineer, senior data engineer, senior data engineer, whatever, sort of that ladder. And so I was saying something along the lines of, I want to get to this place on the ladder. And that's when something inside of me was saying, no, that's not it. Somehow, is this what Sam as a little kid wanted out of his life? And that was the time, really, that all these existential questions started coming up for me. And I started to have this terrible anxiety where I was feeling like I already should have made it or something like that, Like all these people when they were young, by this age, they had already done this or done that, all that type of thoughts were going through my head. What am I doing? What is the great thing I'm going to do in my life? And all of those types of thoughts were happening inside of me. And at the same time, Tulsi was also wanting to find a teacher for herself.
Yeah, so for me, I actually loved the work that I was doing. I was working in education. I was very passionate about it. I found, after working in a school for some time, I found that the kids needed something more beyond what was the normal education system that was whatever we were offering them, math, English, science, like beyond that, there was something more deep that the kids needed, and I felt like we weren't providing that. And one day I realized they need some way to connect with themselves. So I started designing a curriculum with my co-teacher at the time that was centered around yoga and mindfulness and different techniques for them to look at who they are. And I realized that was really something that was so interesting. I remember having a conversation with 5 and 6 year olds. What is happiness? Where does happiness come from? And it was so beautiful. I was like, this is what we need to be discussing in school. This is what children need to be exploring. They need to be searching for these things in life. Not just only looking at how to measure things or how to tear things apart to understand them, but who am I and how do I be the happiest I can be in my life? Where does my happiness come from? So I was so inspired by that, but I saw that this was something missing in the education system. And I realized at that time, there was nothing. This was like 7, 8 years ago. There was nothing in the education system that was related to, it was not enough related to social and emotional learning. There was nothing related to yoga in the school systems in the US. And I was like, this is needed and I can do it. I can offer something. I had some yoga training, and I had done like a 1 year long yoga teacher training course before. I'd never worked with children, but I had something that I could offer, and I had a culture that I had come from that these things were part of. So I said, okay, I need to do something about this. And I realized that the place in the whole education system where I could have the most impact and make a change is if I actually approach the teachers themselves. If I can train a bunch of teachers, and those teachers can go out and train hundreds and hundreds of students. If I only teach it in my classroom, then I can only teach that many students. So I said, if I really want to have an impact and I really want to bring yoga into the education system, I need to work with teachers. So I remember sitting and thinking in my heart, like, how am I going to do this? I also don't know enough about yoga. I have had one year training, 1,000 hours of training. That's nothing. Barely scratched the surface of yoga myself. I'm practicing yoga here and there. I need a guru. I need somebody to show me my own spirituality so I can offer it to the world. I remember feeling this way, and I was telling Sam about it too, and I was like, I actually quit the job that I was doing, working in education in the classroom, because I realized like there was something larger I needed to do.
She would wake up every morning.
Okay.
And we had some sort of
like a little altar.
altar space for our spirituality, whatever it was we were doing at that time. I don't even know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And she would go there. Every day she would sit there
like,
in the morning.
As the first thing, and I'm not even a morning person. Like I would just be lazy. I would not wake up also if I didn't have something to go to do. But I remember like I would wake up with this such a deep longing. Like I would just wake up, and in my state of half sleep, I would just sit down and I'd be like, I'm ready, universe. I'm ready. You just show me whatever's next. I'm ready for a teacher. Please just send this teacher my way. I'm ready to figure out my purpose in life. I'm so ready. Like just open it up for me. Open it up for me. I remember.
Heard about all this like manifesting and all of these things, which I was like, okay. But it's amazing. It's like suddenly all these spiritual teachers started coming to her.
Okay.
Like suddenly different spiritual teachers just started coming towards me, and I was just like yes to everything. I was like, let me see how this is. I ended up getting a free scholarship to go to some amazing Buddhist retreat, meditation retreat with a phenomenal teacher at an institute in upstate New York for free. And I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. I ended up doing this whole silence retreat over there and connecting with that teacher. I ended up getting admission into a spiritual women's group that was doing sessions for a few months, and it was just like all these communities suddenly just opened up to me. And I also ended up finding a job very randomly. Somehow this job, within a few days, I was in contact with the CEO of this company. It's called Breathe for Change. Phenomenal work that they're doing, bringing yoga and mindfulness to teachers all across the country. So I ended up working with this job.
Right.
Maybe I'll just keep my bag open so that.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Not in the camera.
There you go. Good.
I ended up just suddenly finding this dream job because I was so excited about working in education and with teachers that this job was actually teaching educators yoga practices and leading them in a yoga teacher training so they could bring it to their school communities. So I ended up working with them for 2 years almost and ended up leading yoga teacher trainings for teachers all across the country.
Okay, you started leading.
Yeah, from one city. They expanded to 3 cities, to 11 cities. And now they're in multiple cities all across the country doing amazing work, bringing yoga, the tools of the mind, the body, and beyond to educators across the country. And I ended up leading these trainings with them all over and taking it to new cities in the country. So it was so beautiful. Yet at the same time, in my heart, I was like, who the hell am I to teach all this yoga? What have I done? What spiritual growth have I gone through to such a degree that what I'm sharing is authentic and pure and powerful? Like I need to myself go through a deeper spiritual process, So for me, it became imperative. If I am in the position where I can have an impact on so many, if I can share with teachers who are going to share with so many students, I must have a clear path, a spiritual path within myself. I should have a clarity within myself on my spiritual journey.
And this was the time that she ended up going to India.
Yes.
And,
So I said, I'm going to take some time off and I'm going to seek for myself. And my parents, I said, Mom, Dad, you all have been my first yoga teachers in my life. You just sign me up for any program. Just help me find a spiritual teacher of some actual authenticity in the world. You know, there's not enough of these people in the world. Like, just sign me up for anything. I'm open to anything. And lo and behold, they signed all three of us, my parents and me, for inner engineering.
And that time I was still in America. I was working during while she had gone. So she comes back from India, and you have to understand, Tulsi has always been like doing different yoga, going to different yoga classes and all these things. She'd even done like this 1 year long yoga teacher training and all this type of stuff. But I noticed she never had like a real practice of her own.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't something that she just woke up and did. She would go to a class or she would go to different classes.
Yeah.
And she would keep going, but it wasn't something that she had like figured out for herself.
I didn't have like a discipline of my own daily sadhana in my life. That was something that I was building over time. I was just like, yeah, yoga, I do yoga here and there, here and there. It wasn't like a everyday, no matter what kind of thing, you know?
And so finally she comes back. Suddenly she's doing this Shambhavi Mahamudra. Like her life depends on it. Like morning, evening, she's doing it. She's not
Actually-
going out to have fun with her friends.
Yeah.
We're on vacation. She's not coming out with us.
Yeah, at
I'm
that
going
time-
out with her friends and she's staying back and doing this practice. And I'm
It's
like,
true.
wow, like what is this? Like why is she so committed to this all of a sudden? So I was also a little bit inspired. Like, wow, she's so committed
It was
to this.
like I
Maybe
took-
there's something to this.
It was like I took the program and something just got switched on. It was like waiting the whole time to just have this button pressed. And that it was like automatic. I didn't have to think about it. Shambhavi was just happening. During my mandala, we were seeing a friend after 2 years, doing a whole vacation in India, going for a wedding. You know how Indian weddings are. Complete crazy schedule. Morning, evening, 100 functions are going on. No matter what was happening, I was doing my Shambhavi. Twice a day, daily for 40 days. Nothing stopped me. We were traveling
Then
here, going here, nothing.
The next thing happened, okay? And you have to understand, you know, I'm into all of this yoga stuff, but at the same time, I don't know if anyone would have understood. She comes back and she tells me that she has to go to the unveiling of a giant 112-foot head of Shiva.
Okay. See that
Okay?
idea. Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about?
And even I didn't know myself, like, what is this unveiling going to be?
Yeah, what is
What
she
is
talking about?
Mahashivratri?
Some
like-
consecration, something, she's talking to me. I really have no idea. I have no idea what she's talking about. So I'm going,
We'll have to put 2, 3.
Yeah. I think people are looking at us and not looking at the camera. Spread it out more and more. Yeah. That's funny.
the wall.
No.
They'll still step over. So, I have no idea what she's talking about. Some giant head of Shiva and some consecration. What is she talking about? And listen, she's just come back from India, okay?
Yeah.
And this time, like, I'm really the only one who's earning properly for
Yeah.
us.
I quit my job and
And,
went.
you know, flying to
Yeah.
India and back is not cheap,
Yeah.
right?
I was like,
What
Sam,
about me, man? You know?
Okay.
I'm like, what are you talking about? You just got back. You want to go for this? Then she was like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. You're right, it doesn't make sense.
and it didn't logically make
Yeah.
sense.
Made no logical
But something
sense.
in my heart was like, I have to go. I just have to go. I have to go for Mahashivratri. I have to go see Sadhguru. I have to go for Yogeshwar Linga consecration. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't even know what consecration is. I really don't know anything much about Sadhguru except I've done inner engineering. But I just have to go. Something was there. But I just kept quiet. I said, doesn't make sense. We can't really afford to come again, for me to alone fly again to
Yeah.
India just for this thing. And poor Sam is sitting here working hard, earning all this money, and I'm just going off like this.
But I could see that it was there, you know? That it was bothering her. She needed to go. She needed to go. So I said, you go.
He
Go
said,
ahead.
go, just go.
Just go. Just go.
And I said, really? And he said, yeah, just go. And I said, okay.
Okay.
And I
Did you
packed my bags and I came here, and this beautiful statue was unveiled, and it was a big message in the world that there is a journey inward and we must take it, and it's open to all of us. This possibility of enlightenment is not something up there in the heavens. It's right here, available to us all.
And you would remember the Prime Minister and all that came then. Now, I'm in America. I decided to go to the local Mahashivratri thing in New York. This is like my first exposure to Isha ever.
Okay.
So I sit there. I'm like, oh, look at all these people. They're all talking some things that I can't understand. Dhyana Linga and all these things I can't understand. And then they put on the live stream. I'm like, oh my God, there's like 1 million people there.
Literally.
The Prime Minister is there, the lights, Adiyogi was
It's huge.
unveiled. I mean, it's just, I had no idea that
This was 2017.
there, you know?
2017.
I was just totally, whoa, you know, blown away. And then I said, okay, maybe I should also take something. That time I was sick all the time. I don't know what was wrong with me. Maybe I was just because I was drinking alcohol and coffee and all those types of things. And
No, it was
abusing
something
myself.
more than that.
New
He would
York,
get
anxiety,
like
I
the
don't know.
flu. He would get the flu every 3 weeks. And
Very bad, you know, like migraine,
it was so bad.
crazy temperature. And I was just again and again and again I would get sick like this. So I have to do something.
For 6 months continuously.
So I ended up taking Surya kriya. And I swear to God, I'm going to stop getting sick.
Since then, he's not been sick only.
I've never been sick like that again. And it was like almost instantly that physically I started getting better. Then also you knew I always spoke about my spine issue. So I was living comfortably, but I was always scared to pick anything up or something like that in case I re-injured it. After practicing Surya Kriya, that also suddenly my hands were touching the floor, my spine became strong, my whole system became strong.
Yeah.
And then I also took inner engineering, and she volunteered for my inner engineering.
That was so nice.
And that for me, in many ways, all of these things that I had been reading and all of this sort of these philosophies and sutras, suddenly he was saying it, but it was just like in the most simple words. You know what I mean? It's like all these big ideas packed into just the most straightforward, simple way of saying it that anyone could understand.
Just so accessible to everyone.
So accessible. And it pulled all these things together for me, that in my understanding. And of course there was Shambavi, which immediately brought some sort of experiences into my life. But it really wasn't until I took BSP, where we took it with Sadhguru, because in the US he still does.
Yeah, in the US he teaches BSP.
Then, for the first time, it was like a lot of these things, actually, I had some experience. A lot of these things I had only read. Some taste came into myself. And I was just, that was the most incredible program for me. It was unreal. And after that, I went a little crazy on the Isha
Then
day.
I had my job.
Adiyogi, maybe.
Yeah. So I had my job and I was full on into my job. I was in a
I
leadership
thought I'll
position.
also be Adiyogi.
Every weekend I was teaching programs. I was busy. So I couldn't do any more programs at that time. I had my Shambhavi, I had like maybe Angamardana, and I was already busy with all my other things. At that time, suddenly, out of nowhere, Sam just went like a rocket through all the programs. Through to
He was like,
Samyama.
PSP, Shunya, you know,
Yogasanas. Everything.
Tuck. Then I came back and I was like, I went to the Shunya program. I didn't even think about Samyama at that point. I went there. I watched the pre-Samyama video. Suddenly this fire came over me. I came back and I said, Tulsi, I have to do that. She's like, I haven't done Shunya yet. What are you talking about? Like, I have to go.
He's like, I'm going to do Samyama. I was like, but he just came back from Shunya.
So, I just went completely off the rails, taking every Isha thing I could, and then my Samyama preparation, I carried on a full-time job also in New York, doing my Samyama
It was crazy.
preparation.
He had a
It
full-time
was,
job. He'd wake up at 3-4 in the morning, do all his practices.
Not
He'd make
recommended, by
breakfast
the way.
for me. He'd make breakfast for me. He'd leave. He'd go do his whole work. During work also, he would take time off for meetings in which he was doing other practices.
Okay.
Then he would come back and then he would do more practices, clean the house, cook dinner also for me. I would come back and everything would be clean and dinner would be served.
I would be
He was like a
meditating in
efficient
conference
robot.
rooms, rooms, booking conference
He was
rooms and
superhuman.
meditating or doing my own
Superhuman.
chanting or
Yeah.
going to parks. I would do Shakti Chalana in public parks in New York City, okay? With people just around me, just watching me, like, what is
Yeah.
this person doing? I didn't care. I was just like, I'm gonna do this. And
I've never seen him so focused and so alive and so efficient ever in his life.
after the Samyama program, I was touched so much that this longing came over me that, okay, I did all of these things here in New York City, but what would it be like if I was just fully immersed? You know what I mean? If I didn't have to say, okay, I only have 45 minutes and then I have to get back to work. If I didn't have to say I have to catch the subway. What would it be like? So that's when that thought started stirring for me that maybe I should take the hatha yoga teacher training. And so I started talking to her about it. Initially, Tulsi was not so sure because she'd already done hatha yoga teacher
I'd done a
trainings
training.
and all that.
Of
And she was
course, it was
already
very
teaching
different from
yoga.
this.
She had this yoga-related job.
I was
and all of these
enjoying my
things.
job so much. I was in a leadership position. I was involved and responsible for so many things. I wasn't ready to just leave suddenly, for 6 months. It is a commitment for sure. But Sam was like, don't you want to explore what it's like, a life where you're actually completely giving yourself to this path, to the spiritual path, to these practices, to this sadhana, and see what that's like?
Yeah.
And I said, yes, but. And then I said, okay, let me at least go through the interview process and see, because he was so adamant, and I was like, I don't want to be 6 months without you, living over here on my own and you are there. If we do it, then we do it together, or we both don't do it. And I could see how much he wanted to do it. So I said, okay, let me go through the process at least of the interview. Let's see if we both get in also, right? And my whole family thought, oh, Tulsi will get in. She's already doing yoga anyway. Maybe Sam will see.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. Immediately, within a few weeks, Sam got in. For me, they were like, we don't know about you.
We
You're
need
already
one more
doing
interview,
yoga.
one more
Let's do one more
interview, one more interview.
And I was like, what is this? Why am I needing so many interviews, like triple of Sam's interviews? But I started to realize, like, I was experiencing resistance within myself and they were picking up on it. And my resistance was like, I'm already teaching yoga. The yoga I'm teaching is different from hatha yoga. But my practices that I'm doing, I'm not practicing the things that the training is teaching. My practices are this Isha practices. I wake up in the morning and I do Shambhavi. And that's what keeps me alive the whole day. I don't do any other kind of form of yoga as my daily practice.
You're not practicing any of the yoga that she's actually teaching.
Yeah. So, what am I doing? Either I need to preach what I practice or I need to practice what I preach, but I need to make a decision. So I started realizing that there was a dichotomy in my life through this interview process. And it came to a point where I came to a fork in the road where either I do this or I choose Isha. That's it. And so I really had to think deeply. I was like, what is it that makes me inspired every day? What is it that's making my life feel fulfilled? It's the Isha practices. What is it that feels really true and authentic and pure to me? It's the Isha practices. What is it that feels like it has so much potential it can change the world? It's the Isha practices. It's something so deep and there's so much to explore within it. So I said, I need to jump fully into this. So I actually had to quit my job. And I had to just give myself completely to this process of going, at least even just applying for the school, And luckily, it was at around that time that the school also accepted me. So I think they understand that there's resistance, and it was gone suddenly.
Then we packed up everything.
Yeah, we left our
apartment,
picture-perfect
we
life,
left everything, and we
our
just said,
community.
okay, we're going.
We said, goodbye everyone, we don't know when we'll see you next. They were like, are you coming back? We were like, we don't know. We said we are not making any commitments because if a 2-day program, like a Surya Kriya, like a 7-day Shambhavi program, if just a couple days program can transform our life so much, we have no clue what 6 months is going to do to us. So we said goodbye and we will see you when we see you. And we just left without any future plan. We just left to go to India. Everyone in my family was like, what is going on? Are they still sane people or have they really gone crazy? But yet my family was supporting us, his family was supporting us, even though they were like, we don't really fully understand what these two people are doing. Why are they quitting their perfect life that they've worked hard to set up and going and taking a risk and jumping into this thing that nobody knows
I mean, from
anything
their
about.
perspective, it's like we worked so long to get this balance into our life of, you know, money and the right job, the right place, you know,
A good
married, all these
community,
types of
yeah.
things. And suddenly you're just,
Leaving all that and
Yeah,
what? But it was the best decision that we ever made, I think.
ever in our life.
Yeah, and
There's no looking back since then.
the training was unbelievable. And life is different now, for sure.
We are only different, so life is different.
I could actually see the way you guys come. I could picturize it entirely.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Vaisakh, you wanted the log story,
my God.
man. You really got the
log,
log
yes.
story.
Yeah.
Yes. Can you go more long?
I mean, did you want to know our story, but you also want to know about the training, right? You specifically asked, like, people are asking you,
people
like,
are
what is the training
what
like?
is the training?
Are there any specific questions like that could be a starting off point?
Like, basically, what is the entry process? Like, how do they apply for it? I think, and what is the procedure? And
So-
not much about inside. I think there will be something about what you can share, but what is that people like? What would make them do it? Like, I see a lot of people do inner engineering, and they're like, okay, we need to do Isha hatha. And then they're like, oh, the cost is too much. That stops
Yeah.
them. And then so many like this aspects. So is it actually very costly, or is it that cost is valid
Yeah.
for the program?
Actually,
and all those things?
people do ask us a lot about the cost of it. It is a decent amount of money to put down at one time because it's a commitment for 6 months you're making with your energy, with your time, with your energy, with your resources. At the same time, like I was
Did you
hesitant
want to
at
set your
first.
camera also? Like maybe your viewers also want to know.
Why not? Why not? Keep it. Good idea. Yeah, we can take a stretch break. 1 second.
So that was the end, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it and had an awesome time listening to this. Even I was like, why didn't I post this video long back? This I think was the best part of the video, which I don't know, somehow I didn't post. Maybe because at that time I was too conscious about the audio quality and all. But I hope you guys liked it and you enjoyed this just like me. So unluckily I do not have the next part of the video because somehow it got deleted. Ayyo. So but it is there with I think Samyama. So please reach out to Soma.yoga.life on their Instagram and DM them to post it. Okay, that's the only way we can see the rest of the video. So guys, it's lockdown. I hope you guys are safe, stay happy. Don't be too hard on yourself. Just take care of yourself. You always. Okay, so hope you guys stay happy. Namaskaram.